What's up, guys? Welcome to this section of our technical analysis. Just a continuation from where we stopped. Last time we talked about types of candlestick patterns, right? So, on this section, we'll be talking about something very important. We'll be talking about support and resistance. So, today we'll get to know what support and resistance is and how we can actually plot support and resistance zones on using the Binance app, of course. So I'll start by explaining the concept of what support and resistance is. Please, you have to pay close attention because this is actually the basis of uh, almost 60% of what you're doing in support or in technical analysis. If you understand this, then I don't think there's any other concepts that will be so difficult for you to understand. So support and resistance is a very powerful concept in crypto, or I say in crypto, in technical analysis, and has lots of trading strategies that are built around it. It is the basis of technical analysis. That is it. So support is defined as the lowest zone price reached before moving back up, while resistance is defined as the highest zone price reaches before turning back down. So what I mean is that support is where price, whatever price gets to that support or a price zone, let's call it a zone, and then price move back and start going up. It's something like low, and then resistance is something like above, like a barricade above that when price touches, it starts going down. So there are certain things you need to note about support and resistance. One is that support and resistance are not mere points. They are not just mere points. They are zones at which price reverses or breakthrough. Okay. Then you should also note that support and resistance does not last forever. Like if you're having a support and resistance zones, it doesn't last forever. It can change. So this is because the price can be broken and price can get through them. Okay. And then you also note that support is like an invisible barricade. Invisible barricade is like an invisible blockage, whatever you want to call it. Barricade, blockage, whatever you want to call it. So pushing price to what? To go up, while a resistance is like an invisible barricade that pushes bright price down. So we will be using the Binance chart to check how this work. Okay, what does everything I've been saying about it works. Okay, so another thing, there are types of support and resistance. I don't want to skip it. I'll talk about it later. We have the horizontal and then the dynamic, but I will start with the horizontal. Okay, so now we'll just pick up a chart. Pick up a chart like um, let me use this. Okay, so we just turn it to the landscape so that we can do this. So I'm going to remove all of these things that are here. No, let me just leave it. So I'm going to just uh, pick up any this thing and use any time frame. So I think I have something here. So I should just use another. Uh, so let me just think of any other this thing I want to use. Okay, let me use this. Okay. So now I'm going to show you how this works here. I'll show you how this works. I think I also have one more thing to say. I'm going to show you how things this works. Let me look for something that's okay. Let me just pick anyone. If I'm having anything, I will just go. So now this is this on the 1 day time zone, and I don't want to use a 1 day time zone, so I want to use let me use a 4 hour time zone. Let me use a 4 hour time zone. Oh, why is it not clicking? I said time zone, sorry, time frame. Yeah, 4 hour time frame. So I'm using a 4 hour time frame. So we're going to plus a support and resistance zone with 8 here. So I'm just picking up anything anywhere. Let me look at it. So now I've taught you guys how to use this, right? How to you can use this and maybe plot some things like a trend line, like just plot something. So I'm going to be using a trend line to draw our support and resistance zone. So I'll just identify something like this. Let me say, is it going to be a straight line because I'm dealing with the horizontal force? let me say something like this from here. I'll explain whatever I'm doing. Whatever I'm doing, I'll be going to explain it. So it's more clearer on a system, but I want to do it for the sake of those who doesn't have a laptop and wants to use a mobile device, okay, to plot their distance. So it don't become as if it's being restricted to you must have this to be able to analyze or make analysis. So I'll show you whatever I'm doing. So you guys are able to do this, right? Like you can bring this out and draw it just like the way I'm doing. So the next thing I'll do is to pick another one and draw something down. So I will be plotting this here. So I'll still make it here. So sorry. Let me not so complicate things. Let me just not complicate this. Let just make it easy using a trend line. So just use a trend line. Just make something straight. And just try to make the line straight. Let me, I'll show you what I'm doing. Because if I don't use if I use the other this thing, most of you won't get it. Like there'll be so many questions like how should the box be and how. So I'm going to try to move this. Sorry, it's my device. So I'll try to move this and then try to move another one. Let me draw. I have to draw another one down. So another trend line. We need another trend line. So we'll just make sure that it's straight. Then I think it's straight now. So we just try to move it. It's not really that straight. It's not really that straight. So I think it's straight now. So this is the concept of support and resistance. Although I don't know if my line is actually that straight, right? So concept of support and resistance. So I'll be explaining what all of this means. So the line up, let me color it. This line, the blue line up is known as what? The resistance. While the line down, which I'll color to be red. Uh, so the line down, which I'll color to be red, is now my what? My support zone. So you can leave it the same color, you just for identification purposes. Okay. So I said the line up is my resistance, and the line down is what? My support. So it's always like that. That's it. So what's I mean by support and resistance is that these are zones, these are price zones. Here is a price zones, this is a price zone down. So what happened is that you can see that when price was coming up from here, price was coming up, just coming up from this up zone, and then it touches somewhere down here and then it started going up. It came back like it wants to touch and then start going up, then touches here again and then starts coming down and then touches down here, like as if there is a force under here that keep pushing it, that doesn't allow it to come down to more than this place. Okay. So whenever it touches this down, it starts what? Going up. And then whenever it touches that up, it starts coming down, or close that up, it starts what? Coming down. So this is a pure concept about what support and resistance is. It's not like it's ultimate. Yeah. It's not like it's ultimate. So support and resistance, when these are zones, so it tests this zone once and then went up, test this zone once, test it once, went up, then consolidate here, test this zone once, that is, that's touched the both zone once, and then finally came down here, touched this zone twice. So when it touched the zone twice, it makes the zone stronger. It's That's to say that this zone here is strong. So there is a force here. There's a very strong force here that is pushing it. You can see that it also came down here, touched it, but it can't still go any lower. Okay, it keep pushing it up to go up. The more it can't go any lower. And then if you see that if we keep on if you're to check what's happening, you can see that actually from here when it touched, it keeps on what? It wanted to go lower, but there was a force. The force was still pushing it. So you can see, I say when it tests the zone twice, it's very strong. But if it tests the zone for the third time, just know that the zone is becoming what? Very weaker. So the next time it's my turn test that zone, it might just break through it. So a breakthrough is that when this zone is here, this force here, this line I drew here is blocking them from going down, then they can break the down. When they break it, that is a breakthrough. That's what we call a breakout or a breakthrough. So you can see that when it touched here for the second time, it consolidated, touched here for the third time, and then went up. And I think it almost broke the resistance. So that's it for the support. Why for a resistance? The resistance, it touches the up and then touches the up and go down. It tries to touch the up again, come something like here, but still went down and then keeps on trying to touch the up. You can see that if you're going to draw this line up to here, you can see that the breakthrough actually happened. You can see that here, it came here, it touched it, like it would pull it down, but the force was too much. It touched it again and then break through it. Okay, so now, the concept of support and resistance is that once prices are touching these zones, they are very strong zones, more like liquidity zone. That is where money in the market is. When we talk about SMCs, we'll talk about it better. So you can see that when it breaks a zone, it changes the point of that zone. I'll explain what I mean by that. What I mean is that when this zone, this is resistance and this is support, right? So now when it breaks this resistance, it forms another resistance up, and this former resistance turn out to be called a support, not longer a resistance. Okay, so you can see that it's broke through and then they create another resistance, and then it later came back and broke down again, and then retained this resistance point. So that is where price is still now. So you can see that when a zone, so what I was just trying to say is that, let's say for example, uh, let me just draw something. It touches, price comes from here, touches here, come down, touches here, come down, and then went up, went up to this place and then break through. It forms another resistance upward that it will touch, come down. So this is the way it keeps on going. So this is basically for the horizontal uh, support and resistance. For that of the dynamic, I'll be showing you another video because I don't want to make this video too long and too boring. I just want you guys to understand everything basically. So support and resistance zone is a very important, very vital and very powerful concept in technical analysis that if you don't understand, I don't think there is any other thing you can understand again, because everything is practically built on around it. Okay, everything that works for pro traders are practically built around it. When you understand it, it's more like your demand and supply you did in your secondary school or in your primary school, sorry, secondary schools, or in your tertiary education. When the supply, the demand zone, this is like a demand zone and this is like a supply zone. So you know that when the price is high, people are suppliers are going to supply more because they want to sell, and then that is what pushes price down. And then this point here, there is a demand, is where many people are trying to buy. They want to buy at a lower price, and then when it comes to that price, everybody tends towards to buy, to place a buy, and then it keep pushes price up. Okay, so that's it all for support and resistance. Oh, sorry, not really that all, because this is an introductory to support and resistance. So with this, we can progress to other things. Okay, so I'll be showing you the dynamic or the slants support and resistance. Because the one I drew here was just like this, and I was explaining something that you can break through, so you can still break down and then form another support down again. I didn't mention this. Okay, so the next one we'll be talking about is what if the support and resistance are like this. Okay, this what we mean by the slant, or like this what we mean by the slant. So it's pretty much the same thing I've been trying to explain. Okay, so I'll be talking about that next. Thank you guys.